Hello and welcome to the Tinker Cards video gallery. Today I'm going to make a Christmas card with you, which is based on the Sketch 20 challenge at STAMPlorations. And I always like to challenge myself a little bit and see how far I can stretch stamps. So I'm going to incorporate a non-Christmas stamp into this card. And given the sketch, and unfortunately I haven't printed something out, but you can always go to the STAMPlorations.blogspot.com website to see it. I thought I would incorporate the vignette floral grunge strips, which are like nice little strips that you can use for borders or you can use for backgrounds because they quite nicely fit together to form patterns and stuff. So I'm going to use some of those. I'm also going to use some of the new sets, the new release, and the block up was on. So I'm going to use the Vignette Christmas Block, where you have like 3 stamps in. So I'm going to use the snowflakes of that. And I'm also going to use the Christmas candles holiday sketches. And I'm just going to use the words from that, sort of Merry Christmas. And then this is my card that I'm going to work with. So I've cut my piece of white card and I'm going to use some red ink to stamp on it, which unfortunately I've only just realised I haven't got out just yet, so bear with me a moment. Right, no, that's the wrong one. Let's get the other one. So here we go. I'm using cherry cobbler ink from Stampin' Up, and I'm going to stamp the snowflakes in that ink. So let's just ink this up. So I'm just going to stamp them about over here, so in that sort of area. And it's a really lovely, beautiful stamp. All the snowflakes have quite a lot of detail here. So what I like about Sherry's stamps is that they quite nicely interlock, so you can really use them to stamp your backgrounds and stuff, which I quite like to do. So I'm just going to do something like this here now. That's that. There you go. So you won't see that little bit in the middle. I could have done this a little bit better and more accurately, but you really won't see that because some strips would be going across and one would be right in the middle over there. So I'm just going to add something little in here. That's that. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to put my ink to one side for the moment. And that will be the little panel. Just wiping the ink off here, because I do like to clean them pretty much straight away, the stamps. And next I'm going to put this here to one side. I'm going to get a piece of red card. I'm going to go over that with my embossing buddy, because I'm going to stamp the Grunge floral strip on here 5 times. And then I'm going to emboss that with gold embossing powder. So I want it to be a nice sort of rich look to it, really. So let's do... those strips are going to be cut up later, so they don't have to be absolutely parallel or adjacent to each other, because they'll be cut up in strips, and that's what they will be. There will be strips, a layer of strips over my snowflakes. So this now needs to be sprinkled with my Pirate Gold embossing powder. Gosh, I think that's the first embossing powder I ever got. It just goes to show I'm not going to do that much embossing. I used to do an awful lot, but since I discovered the joys of dye inks, I'm not doing quite as much anymore. I just tend to use more colours rather than the embossing. So this is this. And when I do embossing, I always have like a little brush next to it. So just a normal little paint brush. If you get like little spills or whatever, you can always just quite quickly flick them off. So I'm going to tidy my powder away first, because otherwise it's going to get into an almighty mess. And a little brush also helps sort of to brush your powder back into the container. There we go. And now my heat tool needs to come out. So it's going to be a little bit noisy for a moment. Bear with me. So this is exactly the look that I wanted. And I'm just going to get my scissors out and cut these strips. And the good thing about embossing with something like gold embossing powder is on a sort of a slightly darker back. Oh, this hasn't quite taken, just bear with me. See, don't know whether you can see it, but there is some sort of like a bit of a dull patch there, and that means that the powder hasn't quite melted yet, so I need to do that. So, but it brings me quite nicely to it, so you can actually see when the powder is ready, when it has melted actually, and the embossing stays in place. Because if it hasn't melted, if it's still as dull as these couple of little spots there, then it brushes off quite easily. So just bear with me, it's going to get noisy again a little bit. So I think I got it all, and it is actually quite easy to see when you hold it up to the light, where it's gone really shiny rather than dull. So if I just cut this off. Cutting that. I'm not too fussed whether they're exactly sort of straight, because they're supposed to be grunge floral strips. So if it's a bit grungy and not very straight, that just adds to the character there. So I like to do something like this with really big scissors, because you sort of see a bit further ahead where you're cutting. Just take a little bit off here. So my idea about this gold embossing is, and I hope that it's going to work, is that it will just add a little bit of a sort of like luxury to my Christmas card. Right. That's that. Okay, put the scissors away again. Take these away. Right, so this is going to be the base where they go on. So as I said, you really won't notice that I've slipped a little bit there where it wasn't that precise, my stamping. So let's just see. So it's going to be something like that. So I might just have them a bit closer together when it comes to it in the end. So all I need to do is get my sentiment sorted. So this is going to sit on here now, and then it's picking up the red. So I want to be a Merry Christmas sentiment. So I'm just going to get all of that out. Let's put my Grunge floral steps to one side and get the Merry Christmas sentiment out from here. So I do love these candles as well. I've done some I made some cards with them already. But I thought for this one here, I just wanted to do something a little bit different. So, right, and this is where I discovered that actually the block that I'm using isn't big enough. Never mind. Always got others. Just need to get one clear. Nice. So just quickly need to get a block out that fits. So just bear with me. So I've got this here, and this has got a line on as well. A sort of Vicky has made a really great tutorial if you want to sort of see something, how to align stamps with grid patterns and stuff. She's done that as one of the spotlight projects for STAMPlorations, and she gives you loads and loads of tips there. So I'm usually just blagging it a bit. I'm not that precise really. I just rely on a sort of the way I see things. So right, I've got the Merry Christmas here. I've got a piece of white, and I'm going to stamp the Merry Christmas in red again, and if it doesn't work I'll have to stamp it in black. So this is how I make things up as I go along really. So let's just see what this is going to do. So I've got my strip of white here. Here we go. Now that was pretty much precision work. Just wipe this off again. And let's have a look what that would look like. Because I think if I was going to stamp black up against it, it would just be sort of an odd one out, and I'm not so sure that that would work. So I was going to do, that could actually work quite well. So just need to cut that off a little bit. I initially had thought maybe sort of to add it onto a red layer, but I'm not so sure. That makes it a little bit too heavy for my likings. I think I'll just leave it at that. I might just edge my little sentiment with red ink. Okay, so that is almost like pretty much the card done. So let me get to assemble things. Let's get some sticky foam pads out for these. And they usually always, I find I don't really, I have so many, but then whenever I need something, I never have the size that I need. So I always end up cutting them in half anyway. So I'm just quickly doing that. Let's just do this here. This here. Right, I'm almost done. Next ones. Oh, come here. And you got this here. Okay, so when I'm going to stick them down, I think the best thing for me is to just pop them in place first and then stick them down one by one, really, so I get a better idea of where they need to go, if that makes sense to you. So I want them to be somewhat in the middle here, something like that. Yep, so I'm going to start with the middle one here, and as you can see, that if you won't really see where I have that gap there, because it's going to be covered pretty much, and so I'm just going to try and eyeball it a bit, so just see where I'm going. As long as it evens itself out, because they have such a sort of uneven lines anyway. If you are slightly off kilter, it won't show. So just get out of the way there. So if we do something like this, and then if we do the other one, let's do that here. And then we do the other two. Oops, come here. So it's about like this. And the last one. It's a bit like this. So that is that. And I've got to get some sticky tape on this. So where have I got? I guess sticky tape. I've sort of run out of good decent glues. I'm just using sticky tape at the moment. I just need to get my sticky fingers glue again. which I have to order in, and let's just see. Let's do this here. One. And 3. That is that, and I'm just going to do this as well. That's in the process of cutting it. Right. So here we go. Just going to start with putting this onto my base card. Let's just quickly just get going here. I know it's sort of like layers, but I felt it needed some sort of framing, this idea. Otherwise it would have felt to me as if it was sort of like suspended in mid-air a bit. Oops, this is where I wished I hadn't pressed it down just yet. Sugar. Excuse my language. This was not what I had intended. So, which means I need to cut another base card quickly. Oh, what am I doing? This is just not quite like I would have envisaged it to go, but never mind. It is sometimes quite good to see that others aren't quite as perfect as we think they are. So let me just put that to one side, get something out for my base card. It's not going to take me that long. Right. This is why, generally speaking, I do prefer glue for sticking things down, because if you make a mistake like that, it always allows you some time to move things around, even take them off and reposition. Whereas with tape, once it's stuck really. So I'm not so sure. So am I going to pop a little dab of glue or something on here? I think I will do that. Just bear with me. This is almost empty, so I've got to get some more of that. But if I do that, that will be best, because then it sticks down where it's meant to stick, at the top. Right, so this is my base card. Take 2. Shame that I don't do outtake TV here. It's all just in one go. Right. Let's see. Let's keep steady here. This looks okay. Right, steady, steady. There we go. Second time lucky. And because it's down and it's almost going to be covered, you won't see that the card has been messed about a bit. So in this case it is. Had it been the top, I probably would have needed to start again from scratch actually, which would have been a shame. So, well, that was one rescue attempt. Right, next. This is going to be my topper. This is probably where I discovered that it's a heck of a lot wonkier than I thought it was going to be, but never mind. I think it just all adds to the charm of it. Here we go. That's that. I mean, it had crossed my mind to maybe run the distress tool along the edges here, but I thought that could potentially be a little bit too much, because I didn't want to be the focus just on those red strips. Right, so next one. Merry Christmas. If I do that and just cut that off a little bit. Let me just see. I'm just thinking here whether I want this to be a straight line down or a banner shape. I think I'll try a banner shape. I can always cut it straight if needs be. Let's just try and cut a little banner shape there. So let's see how that looks like. Am I sort of liking this? Does it need something? Let me just see. I'm just playing around here now because it sort of feels as if there's something still missing. If I just cut a little bit off there. Just bear with me because this is where I want a straight edge, so I'm going to not use the scissors for that. Right. So let's go because I can do that. Like this. I think I'm just going to stick it down as is, and then I'm just trying to put a few sparkles around it. So this time I am going to use glue, and I'm going to align this little banner with the edge of my red topper. So I'm only going to do a little bit of glue down the middle here. I'm going to pop it about here, not right in the middle, so a bit lower down I think looks best. So I'm actually going to overlap it a little bit. So I think this is about it. And now let's find me some sparkles. I'm going to fold the card up for that because that gives me a bit of a better idea as to where I need to position things, get everything else out of the way. And the question is, do I want clear, do I want red, or do I want something completely different? I know I've had some bell shapes cut. Let me just see. That might actually be quite nice if I stamp the bells in red and just cut them out. So let me do that, and then I don't have to add any sparkles. Where are my bells? Bells, bells, bells. Here we go. My red ink again. And I might just add a little bit of glitter glue to the bells then, and I think that will add enough of an interest. So I've just stamped them quickly. I know it's pretty much a red and white card with a touch of gold, but that's sort of what I wanted. I didn't want it to be too colourful. So now this is just for cutting out quickly. Now I'm not a quick cutter, so you have to bear with me. And as I'm saying that, I'm not even straight either, so never mind. I think you get the idea. Normally I try and have these things done before I even start recording. Because if I make a mistake, I can always stamp another one. I don't have to do it on camera. Oh well, here we go. That's life. Right. So if I just shape these birds a little bit. Just do that. Which way around do I want them now? They want to go a bit like that. Oh gosh, let me get my tweezers. Yeah, I think I'll do it like that, and I'll get just some very thin foam pads to go behind it, because I don't want it to, oh no, they're a bit thicker than I thought they were. There was a bunch that I grabbed, so it's got to do. So let's just do that. That's it, just so they're slightly popped up here. I'm just going to pop a little bit of glitter glue on the holly and the bow there. That should hopefully then, it was going to come out now. Oh, here we go. Here we go. So the thing with glitter glue, if you use it, it always sort of slightly makes your ink bleed a little bit. But I think if I just use it on the bow, it actually adds quite a nice touch to it in this case. And just that little bit of extra sparkle that is needed. So that's my card done. And you can see it on my blog on Monday the 15th of September. Well, thanks for watching, and please excuse my ramblings, but sometimes that is just part of the creative process. Okay, see you soon. Bye.